would like a God who could make life easier. One who could take away our problems, solve our troubles, take away our sufferings, our sickness, everything that diminishes human life and the quality of life. But boy, don't we pray a lot? We have petitions that we pray and pray that God somehow is going to answer and take care of all these problems, hoping that God will solve those problems and ease all of our concerns. But it's not about God stepping in and doing our work. It's not about putting ourselves first or just making choices and decisions that bring us comfort or bring us fulfillment or happiness. We listen carefully to the gospel today. The disciples hear something so compelling in the words and life of Jesus that they are willing to try something new. It was Jesus' way of showing us what can happen if we are willing to leave the shallow waters and go out into the deep waters of faith. I know in my own life it's much easier to stay in the shallow water. Shallow water is easy. I can see the bottom. Shallow water doesn't demand a lot of courage. But the deep waters are risky. The deep water is where the fish are, however. And to go deeper and beyond living on the surface demands a radical way of living in our world. So stepping out of the shallow water, shallow living, shallow values, shallow commitments is not easy for any single one of us. Even the church is afraid to step out into the deep waters so many times. We stay where it's comfortable, safe, secure, and we end up with a very shallow presence in our community and in our world. Living in God's way is a result of living for others every day. That's what Jesus teaches us. It's about others. It's about going where the fish are. And we heard in the gospel, I will make you fishers of people. So being a follower of Jesus, a servant of Christ, means that we can't just sit here on the shore here on 39th Street. Can't just be keepers of the aquarium in these four walls. And we all know that walls just aren't good. The fish, the people, are out there. And there's more fish out there than there are in here. So the invitation is waiting for you. The invitation is waiting for me. The invitation is waiting to allow God's grace to touch our lives so that working together we can share our lives on a deeper level of commitment and concern, especially with those whose lives are challenging, whose lives are fragile, whose futures are uncertain, who face suffering, sickness, hunger, homelessness, caring for their aged parents, in jail, on drugs, in hell. Can we go out into the deep waters of empathy and compassion and mercy, somehow touching the souls of the lost, the last, and the least as we pray every single week? And remembering that God's net is for all. And we are called, If you listen to the first reading, Isaiah had unclean lips. Paul was unfit to be a follower of Jesus. Peter was unwilling to try something new. A lot of uns. A lot of uns. But each, Isaiah, Paul, Peter, and us, we're called to remember. And remember this week, that the mission is fishing. God bless you.